Hello, filmmakers, and welcome to the Wedding Film School Show, a podcast dedicated to the craft, business, and personal aspect of running a wedding film brand. The Wedding Film School Show is hosted by myself, Jared Haskell, and my longtime business partner, Jason McCutcheon. If you're looking for free resources or to get your wedding film business off the ground, make sure to check out weddingfilm.school or check us out on Instagram for news, giveaways, and more. All right, here we go. Another episode of Wedding Film School. Ask Me Anything with myself, Jared Haskell, and Jason McCutcheon. Jay, how we doing?
I would say just as good as the previous episode that we just recorded.
You don't have any other stories that you could pretend?
No, I'm doing good. I am excited to answer some questions today. I love answering questions. I'll say that. I enjoy that. And I don't like answering questions on a podcast that no one is asking.
Yeah.
So it's nice to answer questions that people actually want to know the answer to. And
right.
I'm not going to lie. I am sometimes surprised by the questions in a good way. People want to know that. Okay, I can help with that. So right. I enjoy that.
Right. Because sometimes when we're creating a podcast, sometimes it feels a little bit like you're shooting in the dark. Is this something people actually care about? And for us, we have a business together. If this is your first time listening to Wedding Film School, Jay and I run a business together, actually 3 businesses, Stop, Go, Love, Merriment Films, and Huxley Films. And so it's always kind of hard to understand what especially new filmmakers are going through. Jason and I have been doing this for going on 14 years now.
Well, and the conditions were way different when we started.
Right,
so it's what it's like for you to start a business now is very different than what it was like when we started.
Yep. Which is the reason why I like this. It's just we are going straight to the people and asking them what they are interested in hearing about and helping people grow their businesses.
If there's anything that we're actually offering people, we're not offering you any great tips, really. We're offering experience. Mm-hmm. That's all we have really to offer is we have experience and some level of success, and I like offering that. I don't like it just being for me. I like to give it away. So ideally, we're going to help some people today.
Yep. So before we dive in, I just want to remind people, check out the Wedding Film School Facebook group. It's a great place where you can connect with other wedding film creatives, and I would say some of the more experienced wedding film creatives out there who are charging a lot of money, who can give away free advice to you. So if you are listening to this AMA and like hearing our answers to questions, go on there as well, and you can ask questions on a Facebook thread. It's a great way to get involved. Also, we do a weekly Wedding Film School live show every Thursday at 1 p.m.
Sorry, I'm yawning, by the way.
Well, it's probably because you did the Wedding Film School show live yesterday. Yeah.
That's what it is.
This is a show that we review your wedding films.
I gave it my all on that show yesterday.
I know, left it all on the line.
If you listen to the show, I'll give it my all as well.
If you're interested in having Jason and Bobby review and critique your wedding film, you want to go to weddingfilm.school. And follow the link there. There's a place where you can submit to have your film reviewed. And that's a free service, as is most things here at Wedding Film School. You can log on the website. If you're on there, there's a lot of resources for you to be able to download. Make sure you're checking that out. And then lastly, of course, our 2 YouTube channels, Wedding Film School and the Wedding Film School Show. One is more like a gear, behind the scenes type of YouTube channel. The other one is where you can listen to this show, the Wedding Film School Show.
Hey guys, Bobby popping in quick to let you know that this episode of the podcast was brought to you by Tamron. Providing filmmakers with the perfect mix of performance and value, Tamron has every type of lens to fit your needs. With their moisture-resistant construction, close-focusing abilities, 6-year warranty, and remarkable optical performance, Tamron lenses can help you upgrade your wedding films. I know I personally keep the 28-75 2.8 in my bag, and I often reach for it on a wedding day. So send them some love for making this episode possible. Check out some of their lens options in our gear link below or at www.tamron-americas.com.
So without further ado, let's hop into the Ask Me Anything portion of the show. The first question is, why or why not to ask a potential client their budget on your contact form?
I like this question.
Yeah. So why don't I start on this one? Because this is something that I deal with often. And I referred to it earlier. Jason and I, myself, we have 3 different brands. And I would say for each brand, we actually do it differently according to what the market is and what the potential customer is. So I would say when you're telling people something on your website, it's got to be very intentional. When you tell someone, what your pricing is on the website, you want it to be a benefit to you, right? So when you put it online, the initial thought you want your customer to have is, that's a good price, right? If you're putting the price online. If it's not online, then you're probably a little bit more expensive. You don't want to lose that client just by having, sticker shock, right? I think that's the reason why you maybe wouldn't have your pricing on the website. What are your initial thoughts, Jay?
Well, weren't they asking, should you ask the person their budget?
No.
Isn't that what
they said? Should you post the pricing on the website? Why are we not to ask a potential client their? Why not to ask a potential client their budget on your contact form? So, kind of.
It's similar.
But yeah.
So here's my opinion about that specific question.
Sure.
I haven't found it to be helpful. That one way or the other.
Sure.
Because a person doesn't typically. If a person has a budgetary problem, they're not going to answer honestly. And if a person has a lot of money, they're not going to answer honestly. They're going to, everyone's always going to try to get this service for as little as possible. So unless you're asking the question, we asked the question on one of our websites, Huxley Film, because we have no pricing. And the only reason we asked the question, so this is the why. We only asked the question because we don't want to put the pricing, but we also don't want people filling the form out who think it's going to be $2,000 because I don't want to deal with them.
Right.
In our particular situation, that's why we do it. And so we have starting at, I think 8,000. We have a bunch of ranges, but
we don't post it on the website.
No, the question on the form,
right,
that is on there. And it's the budget. The budget question is basically designed to tell the person this is expensive. But at a later point, they're already on the form.
I almost think a better question is and I don't know if it's tacky to ask this, but what is the budget for your wedding? Not necessarily what is the budget for your wedding filmmaker, right?
It's not,
that's what I want to know.
It's not an overly important question. So I know for a fact, I would never ask the question if I actually wanted to know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason we're asking is so we can put some idea of pricing in the person's mind.
Right.
So there's a lot of ways to do that, is my point. That's the only one way. And I don't think it's necessarily the best way. It's just the way that we had in our particular situation with how we wanted the rest of the site to work. Mm-hmm. So I think if you're going to do that, and you all if you have your pricing on your site, why bother? Don't do that.
Right.
It's pointless. Don't.
Yeah.
If you are not expensive, don't do that. Why bother? The only reason I think to ever do that is if you're actually getting so many leads and you don't want to hop on the phone.
Right.
Which I think most people shouldn't want to do.
Right.
And so I think for the most part, it's pointless. In our particular situation, we're one of the few people who I think will get some benefit out of it, which is we have a ton of leads and a ton of phone calls. The last thing we want for Huxley Film is we might do a wedding with Carrie Ketterer for Stop Go Love and Huxley Film. And the Huxley Film probably will do a little better on social. And all her, and she's popular in the area. She's a popular planner. So a lot of people who can't afford her are going to follow her. And then they're going to go on our page and be like, I want a wedding like that. And start filling stuff out. We saw you did this wedding with Carrie. She's our favorite planner. And then you end up getting on the phone and you're like $12,000. They're like, oh, we were thinking $2,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's all we're trying to prevent.
Yeah.
And I think most wedding filmmakers, you got one brand. You need to get on the phone with as many people as possible. I think unless you're getting so many leads and you're not showing your price anywhere else on the site, I don't really see why you would waste a inquiry question on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if you, a lot of filmmakers will have a starting price on their website, say it is starting at $8,500. If they still fill out the form, they're not scared away.
Yeah.
I think the thing that you'd be maybe trying to prevent is if you start at $8,500 or $10,000, whatever it is, and the person can only spend $1,000 or something. like if they say $1,000, just say your price you're starting at isn't on your website, so they're just kind of flying blind. You don't want to hop on a phone call with someone whose budget is $1,000.
You might not know
Like,
until 15 minutes of the call.
Aiden would disagree with me because he would say, I can sell that $1,000 bride into a $10,000 bride. I just really haven't found that bridge to be gapped many times.
I think like you should focus on getting the right person to your site, not getting the wrong person to become the right person.
Right. So I think that, that could be helpful if they fill out like $1,000 is our budget. You could be like, hey, by the way, we start at $8,500, and then they'll be like, yeah, let's not even get on it. Don't waste your time.
That's all we do with Huxley Film is
Yeah.
when people fill it out and they say like, I don't know or something. I think we have like a lower number.
Yeah.
We
I don't want to do a whole half an hour pitch if I know that I'm not going to be able to. Or for me personally, the reason I would do it is I would say, well, we don't do $1,000, but we actually have Merriman Films
we will
starting at
downsell.
$2,000.
Yes.
Oh, that'd be a way better fit. It's just a matter of categorizing people the right way, and
Most
getting
people
to the right
don't need
spot.
what we need, and so I think for the most part it's pointless.
Yeah.
But it depends on the situation.
Yep. Now, with the first question that I interpreted that question as, what do you think about pricing on a website?
I think most people should do it because most people are not competing for the clients that don't need to know that.
Mm-hmm.
I think most clients want to know that.
Mm-hmm. I will say with Merriment, people are so appreciative. They're like, I don't have to bother. Like if it's out of my price range or whatever, and honestly, starting at $2,000 to $3,500, most people are going to give you a call, even if they're like, it's a little out of our price range, but we just wanted to get on the phone with you and see what it was like. And then you can sell those people.
If you're not
all day.
wildly more expensive than the people that, all that matters is who are your clients, what is your market, and who else are they looking at?
Yep.
And if you know for a fact that everyone in your market is looking at one of three people and you're all similar priced and you're the only one with pricing, I promise you it's going to benefit you.
Yep. Okay, so next question. This person wants some specifics on why we shoot Lumix.
Do you want me to the honest answer?
No, I want your political answer, Jason.
So the honest answer is they gave us a bunch of cameras, but that's not really true. That's why we started. Like we had no experience with them, and I'm very open-minded about cameras.
They wanted us to have experience with their cameras.
Yes. We
So they
have
let us
shot
try some,
Canon.
yeah.
We have shot Fuji. We have shot Blackmagic. We are not loyal to any camera brands.
Mm-hmm.
We've shot Sony. Like we don't care.
Yep.
We'll shoot anything. So there's a range of things, but they have to be good. Because like what we do is like we used to do Blackmagic at weddings. It doesn't work for us. We're not doing this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Sony had some things we didn't like. A lot of it was price. Canon did some things we didn't like. The reason why I personally like Lumix in a genuine way, first of all, I like the people at the company. They're very committed to wedding filmmakers, and they're easy to talk to and engage with, and I think they're legit, and they're not so big that they just, the thing about like other camera companies is like if you go to their booth or something, right, and it's changing a little bit, but other camera companies, you go to their booth and it's just all landscape. It's all the prestige photographer things. They don't care about what we do at all. Lumix is genuinely interested in what we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I would start with the camera itself. I think when we first went to Japan and filmed on the S5 II, we were kind of blown away by how awesome of a camera it was. And I understand before then it was having some autofocus issues. Was always really known as have a great stabilization. But we were like, oh yeah, we're down to try a new camera, and we were blown away. We loved the images that we were able to create.
Price is good.
And the price is great for a full frame camera. I would put it up against anyone out there. And especially if you have a camera that can do 95% of what I think people would consider maybe like the best of the most popular camera that's out there for wedding filmmakers, whether it's like a Canon or a Sony. If it can do 95% at like literally like close to half the price, I mean, I think it's the best camera for most wedding filmmakers out there.
So this is my number. The reason why I was like, let's go beyond. We got some free stuff and we did some stuff for YouTube, and why we actually are using why we're investing in it, and why we do the most valuable art to us on these cameras. I've always been a big believer that glass is more important than cameras. And I've always appreciated Leica glass the most. It's well regarded in the industry as some of the best lenses that you can buy. And they are part of the L Mount Alliance. And what's really awesome is Leica actually makes a lot of their lenses. And I think I can't think of cheaper lenses that I've used that are better.
For the price, they're the best value out there.
They're so good
Yeah.
at $400 or $500 up to $1,000, and obviously their more high end stuff is also good.
Yeah.
But I think to me, like across
Their 24
the
to
board,
70 is probably my favorite 24 to 70 I ever used.
yeah,
It's an
it's
awesome
really
lens.
good. Their primes are awesome.
Yep.
Now, is it as good as like a $2,200 G Master, the S series $500 50?
Well, I mean,
No, probably not quite as
the
good.
Lumix is the same price though. It's $2,200.
Well,
So-
their Leica version is, but their S series Lumix 50 is like $400 or $500.
Oh, the 50. I'm talking about the 24
I'm
to
talking
70.
about the 50,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That
yeah.
50 mil, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think for most wedding filmmakers, having a lot of lenses for a lot of situations is more important.
Right.
But they have to be good.
Right. You can
Right.
choose to get the Leica at like a $5,000 lens if you want to go that high.
Or you could
the
get
best
10
lens you'll ever
lenses.
use. Or you can go with the $500 route and have it be a beautiful lens as well. And you know,
Even like when you look at their lens, their methodology to developing the S series lenses, they're all the same size and weight.
exactly.
And so they're making them for filmmakers.
Yep.
They also have like they have minimal focus breathing. This is a filmmaker focused lens.
Yep.
And obviously they're not the only people doing this, but I think they're the people who are focused on filmmakers. Wedding filmmakers are big to them as well, which matters to me, and value.
Mm-hmm.
And like when you think about wedding filmmaking, I don't think the purpose of wedding filmmaking is to get the best camera.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about like, we're all trying to do that thing where we know that like we're not shooting a thing that can justify an $80,000 camera.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously that's the best camera, right? It needs to be that mix of like, it needs to be expensive that it's quality, but not so expensive that if you lose it on a destination wedding, that it destroys your business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like great glass. So I like their glass. All that to say, like
Yeah.
the thing that sold me on them is like the glass and the range of glass from the cheap stuff all the way to the most expensive. To me, I was like, I see value across the board.
Yeah.
And I really like that.
I think if you were to talk to experienced wedding filmmakers, they're always trying to balance between quality and convenience, and really just comes down to speed, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to be really fast with your glass. So a lot of times zoom lenses are pretty great. Like you have your 24 to 70, you have your 70 to 200. Like from a convenience standpoint, that I don't have to be switching lenses on and off, like that's my ideal. But I love the look of a prime, right? We all love the look of a couple great prime lenses. The thing that I've loved about switching over to Lumix is having a gimbal that I can swap all my primes out quickly
Without rebalancing.
That's huge and kind
For
of
weddings,
like a
I
game
think.
changer.
Oh, for
Yeah.
weddings, it's huge.
Totally. So I've really loved being able to swap on like their 18 millimeter for some wides. And then if I'm doing a portrait session with a couple, maybe I'm switching over to the 50 or the 85 quickly. Like, hey, we're going to do this. Okay, hang on one second. Click, boom. Like, I don't really like to swap lenses on a wedding day because I don't want my, sensor to get dirty, whatever it is. But I think we've started to do that a lot more because it's just so fast
It's
and
convenient.
easy. Yeah. And the image looks great. It's
Great
really
image.
awesome. Yep.
I think the thing is like there's a lot of good cameras now, so you can't really go wrong. For us, it's just like everyone is making that, I think, more complicated calculation of like what's good for me.
Yep.
And I think Lumix is good for me.
Yep. Okay, so let's move on. Next question. Next person asks, how can I leverage paid ads effectively with a budget of only $100 a month to book weddings in the $2,000 market? I'm only getting 2 to 3 leads per month, and I know I need a lot more. So
You can't. That's my opinion.
$100 a month?
I don't think that's enough.
I mean, any marketing person would tell you it's not enough. But my whole thing has always been like, are they just saying that because they want more money out of me?
No.
Tell me why.
So I've been in marketing a lot. I have a love-hate relationship with the entire thing. Because
We've talked about this a lot today personally.
well, and also like I don't like doing it. It's not fun for me. It's not interesting. It's just numbers and it's not that complicated, but it's not interesting to me. So regardless, this is the thing to keep in mind. When you sell Google ads, which is different than Facebook ads, but just humor me. Google ads, they sell, if you're working in marketing, they sell it by the mil, M-I-L, which means 1,000. They sell it by 1,000 like impressions. So like if you're trying, not all the time, but like a lot of marketing agencies will be like, oh, we're going to try to get like 20,000 mil, like 20,000 impressions. That would be 20,000, 2 million impressions. Yeah, that would be 2 million. So whatever it is. Last time I checked, when I did it, because I do this somewhat regularly, the term wedding filmmaker and videographer, like combined, had less than, I think, 20,000 queries in a month in the Northeast, which is nothing. Like nothing. Because out of those 20,000, say you showed up in front of all 20,000 people. Every person that looked for it, your ad showed up. If 1% of them clicked, you would be 1 to 2%, that might be acceptable, right? So what is that? Like 20,000 people, what's 1% of 20,000 people? Was that 200 people?
200.
So like maybe 200 people. So it would be very expensive to do that, by the way, because there are other people competing for those terms. So like 1%, 200 people. Out of those 200 people who click on the ad, maybe 10% are going to fill that form out. So that's 20 people. And out of those 20 people that fill the form out, 20% of them might book you. So that's 2.
Mm-hmm.
So you've taken every person on the entire region who queried the term wedding filmmakers, and you could reasonably expect that if you showed your ad to every one of them, that less than 10 of them would buy something. And that is the name of the game. And so it's a numbers game. It's always a numbers game. And so you need to get in front of people a lot, and you need to get in front of them more than once.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to be able to do that for $100.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. It's about ROI. It's about return on investment. So it doesn't matter. The only reason your budget is $100 is because you haven't sold any. What if I was to tell you you put $400 per person, and every single time you did that, you would make $2,500? That's how you have to think about ads. You can't think about it like, I'm going to spend $100. Like, good companies will just keep spending money until they stop making money. Mm-hmm. So why would you limit yourself? Mm-hmm. I think you'd be much better off taking all $1,200 and spending it in 1 month. Mm-hmm. And then any money you get, spending $1,200 again, mm-hmm, until it stops making you money. Spend $2,000. Keep upping the money until it stops returning.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's just a way of thinking. Like, your goal is to get as many people looking at you as often as possible so that you have a higher opportunity to close on the leads. The goal is not to have a drip of ads that are all ineffective.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. As somebody who doesn't know a whole lot about Instagram ads, Facebook ads, it's not something that we feel like we've really mastered ourselves.
Not at all.
I would say, I would say it's not enough. $100 a month is you're just going to be throwing away your money. And when you have that small of a budget in the first place, you just have to realize, like, there's a lot of other companies that are spending a lot more than you, and they're just going to drown you out. Like, you're competing with them. Like,
now, what you could do, is boost a post for $100 a month.
Sure.
Once a month. I don't think that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
It's but to set up like a real ad with like pixels and click funnels and, like, to me, real ads.
Yeah.
100 is not enough. But I will say, like, dipping your toe in ads, like maybe boost a post. That's something that you really love, work that you've really seen. The point of advertising is being seen by more people. It doesn't matter how. As if you have work that's great on your Instagram and we haven't tried this, maybe I'll go try this. Like, boost a post. Why not?
Yep.
Couldn't hurt you. Like, it's better, and it'd be better than running an ad campaign that is going to fail. I mean, here's what I think about running Facebook ads. Like, in Instagram ads and Google ads, any ads, like, it's actually hard.
Wicked hard. Yep. There are professionals that do it full time. And even they're like, we don't know. I feel like you talk to a lot of people. They're like, what month is it? April? I don't know. This last month it was like this. Now I'm not seeing the same.
Well, the consumer's
effect.
in charge.
Sure.
And that's the issue. So it's like you got to pay money to find out what they want. It's pay to play big time.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's so hard. Is like if you only have $100, you're just taking way less swings.
You're not going to learn anything.
Yeah, you can't even learn.
Anything that happens could be chalked up as fluky. And you want to spend enough money to know that you had multiple swings at the plate and you actually learned something. Instead of like, I put some money in and you don't want to just throw your money away.
Yeah.
Because even if you're successful with that $100, it's hard to guarantee that you did anything correctly. You could have just gotten lucky.
Yeah.
So you want to make, like, the point of any kind of like running a business, especially in advertising, is figuring out what dials you can turn that every time you turn them, they will produce revenue. If you have an advertising strategy that's like, this worked, I don't know how, and then like, say you do the $100 and you do the same thing, but actually it was totally fluky, and you have a bunch of unearned confidence, and the next month you put $2,000 into it.
Right.
And then it just totally flops, and all the gains you got from the previous month, like, are nothing. I would rather spend $2,000 the first time and lose it than spend $100 and the next month think I figured something out and I didn't.
Yep.
So that's unhelpful, but.
So let's just, if someone had $100, not necessarily spend it on Facebook, but to just spend in general.
They want to get They want to
$1,200 a year.
What would I do? $1,200 a year if I was to market your business. Join WIPA.
Okay.
I think I would join a higher end local wedding professional thing.
Go to the meetups.
That.
Yep.
I think you would be better off going to a wedding show than spending $1,200 on ads over a year.
Sure.
Not in a month. In a month, I think you'd be better off spending $1,200 on ads. But if you're going to spend $100, you might as well go to a wedding show. You'll at least learn something. You'll talk to people. You'll build your personal skills. You'll understand the market more. You'll see who your competitors are.
I would say with that too, what are your strengths? Like,
Yes,
is it networking or is it not? If it's not networking, then maybe something digitally. But if your strength is networking, dude, go to the spend
I just
it
don't
on
know
the
how
networking.
you can like actually work in this industry and not try to make that a strength.
I mean, plenty of people do it.
I don't think they do it that successfully.
Maybe.
Like,
Yeah.
I think like it's the thing
Super important.
It's the most important thing.
Yep.
Like, I think having good work is the most important, but I think that's like the thing that binds people together. Most people's work is pretty good.
Yep.
And so like what separates people is not the work, but do they put work into the other things? I don't know. What would you tell someone to do with $1,200?
Yeah, I think the WIPA thing is good. I would avoid the wedding shows because I hate them.
They're horrible.
Yeah.
They're horrible, but it's just like I think I would be more likely to sell a wedding at a wedding show than I would with $100 of ads. That's my point. Like if I trust in that I could talk to you and get you to buy something sooner than I could run an ad in front of you. And if that, it just depends on what's the purpose, I guess.
So she said they're getting 2 to 3 leads per month. I would want to know where those leads are coming from. If they're coming from Instagram already and you already have like a solid, following
and also,
or something.
Is it a click funnel or is there like
maybe a boosted post, I think is a good idea. And then also I'd want to diversify a little bit. If it was all Instagram, I think that's great. But then also meet venues in person. Can you bring
what is that marketing budget based on?
Just how much money they have left over maybe or something.
That's what they think they have though. But if they were actually selling things with it, they would have more money. So it's like, that's the whole thing with advertising, guys, is why it needs to be a strategy and not like, well, I got this much money, so I should do some advertising.
2 to 3 leads per month. That's going to be 20, let's just say 28 leads a year.
So like 1 to 2 bookings max.
So 1 to 2 bookings at a
Maybe 4.
$2,000 price range. So let's just say 3 bookings at $2,000. That's a $6,000
Well, that's what I'm going to ask.
income on the year.
The thing I can't answer this question is, are you closing them?
Mm-hmm.
If you're getting 2 to 3 leads a month and every time you're booking one of them, then don't change anything. What you're doing is awesome. Just double down. You do, like, my guess is they're not closing on any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like whatever you're doing with your business, are you selling?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're selling, then do more of that.
Yeah.
If you're not selling, don't do any of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So hopefully that was helpful. Sorry we can't be more helpful on that one. Ads
It's
is not my
complicated.
strength.
It's also just like
it's complicated with limited information. But last question. They ask, are there percentages that you try to devote to gear, marketing, business expenses, insurance, subcontractors, music licensing, etc.?
yes and no. I put the mic really close to my mouth just so people would hear that.
Okay.
Yes and no. I think we try to do both, right?
Yeah, I think so. We also have years where we devote a lot of money towards gear. Like I would say every third year we devote a lot of money towards gear. And then the other 2 years are like more like maintenance years. But we have a plan. Yeah.
Yes. We have a strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, it's always just like whatever it takes.
Yeah.
You know?
Marketing is pretty much the same every year, maybe plus or minus a few things that we're trying.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we have a budget every year, and we might be like, but we look at it and we say, hey, if we're going to spend more money, that means we're literally taking money out of our profit at the end of the year, which typically goes into my pocket. So is that something we really want to do or not? We make that decision together. But I think that's probably the best way to do it. It's, it sounds like this person's like, do you have just a budget?
I think if they're asking what should their budget be, right? I don't think there are any numbers that you can just apply across the board for any business. Like we had the last podcast, we were talking about taking money and not taking money. Maybe not last podcast, but another episode. We were talking about like how much money we took from ourselves in the first 3 years that we paid ourselves, and it was like basically nothing. That was unique to our situation. And I think like no matter what business you're running, like you're going to have unique financial situations at the end of the day. So I think that's part of like a lot of these is like getting clear with what your goals are and what your opportunities are and what your needs are. Like for instance, like, are we talking your first year of business or your 10th year of business? What's your gross revenue? Like your budget should change based on how much total money you make, based on how much money you're going to make next year. What are you projecting for next year? Like, what are your needs? Like if you're telling me like, oh, we got double the bookings, we've never had this before, and like, it's great, but I have to have an associate working every weekend next to me. Not next to me, like in the same day. We're going to always have 2 weddings every Saturday for the season. I'm going to say, that's great. You're about to give away a ton of money right off the top of bat. Like that opportunity immediately became an obligation. And so your budget should change. Like if you went into the year with like, oh, I don't need any cameras. And then you have this opportunity that pops up. Well, suddenly you need cameras. So are you going to not buy it because your budget says I'm only going to spend 20 grand on cameras, but you could make another 80 if you spent another 20? No, you're going to buy the cameras again. And so like, I think like it's more important to know.
Your budget just informs your decision making.
Yes. Are you screwed or not? Did I overspend? Did I do? For me, a budget is all about projecting something so that I can make decisions and then seeing if I understand the business. You know, like if you walk away, you're paying yourself and you're making a profit, I don't really care what your budget is. Like, you know, like you just need to be operating. So it's like, that being said, I think if someone is making all those, like whatever your individual situation is, I think if your budget should have a priority to it. So it should be early in your business. I think it should be, can I deliver a service? Mm-hmm. So like probably gear, services that run your business are really important. And they're a bigger part of your budget, a larger percentage. Because you're gearing up, you're adding to that, and you're trying to get to the point where you can deliver the service of wedding filmmaking. Computers, subscriptions, all that. I think as your business develops and grows, this priority is going to change to, can I pay my salary? And like, that's going to be a fixed thing. And like, I wouldn't do that as a percentage probably.
Yeah, that's probably my thing is like, there's really it's not based on a percentage. Like, it's not like, we're going to, 5% of our costs are going to be towards subcontractors every year. Like it can vary, substantially depending on what the work is. Ideally, you're bringing all of your expenses and all of these costs down as much as possible to make as much profit as possible. So that will change. So it's not really a percentage. I would say there are certain things every year that are just going to be fixed costs. Every time we do a wedding, there's a subcontractor percent. There's a portion, and it could be different depending on who the person is. But I think there's more like margins I try to stay within. Yeah.
Well, it's really about like, what is your priority? Because then I think, like I said, initially it's like probably business expenses, if in order, business expenses, marketing expenses, paying yourself. If there was those three categories, and it's like business expenses are number one, paying yourself is number three. I think when you first start your business, the longer your business goes, that actually flips entirely. I think it's paying yourself, marketing, business expenses.
Yeah, you have like a profit first.
Yeah, like you're paying yourself, you're making money, you're spending money to keep making money, and hopefully you have enough stuff in an infrastructure around your business that you don't need to keep buying things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that becomes a smaller and smaller expense as your business grows and develops. I think if that's not happening for you, that's maybe the looking at like there's a discipline problem in your business. Like if you're constantly getting new stuff and you're constantly struggling to pay yourself, we know what the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this though about percentages. We do try to break down certain percentages within a job.
Within our packages, yeah.
So
if we want this much profit. This much is going to go towards the editing. This much is going to go towards, the shooting side.
They're not really percentages, but they're cost.
Yeah.
Like you need to know the cost.
Cost of acquisition for each, lead that we get every booked,
So this,
client.
I can learn someone something on this. If you look at your weddings, every wedding has a couple costs to it. It has the shooter, and it could be you, has the equipment, and that should be over 3 years. So like if you have $25,000 in your kit, divide by the amount of weddings you shoot over 3 years, that's how much per wedding your gear costs, right? And then there's marketing, and that changes based on the lead source, but also you need to cover the overall marketing budget. So you could probably do it either way. You could either do like, I got this lead, and so it's $400, or you just divide it by total amounts of weddings you book. But either way, there's a marketing cost, and then there's just, various other taxes and things like that go into your business. And what it's left over is profit, ideally.
Yeah.
And so before you get super bent out of shape about the overall budget, sit down and say, like, how many weddings do I think I'm going to shoot, and what is all the costs associated? And that's your budget. Like, whatever those percentages are, probably some of them can't be changed. And so if you want to operate and you want to make more money, you just have to charge more money.
Yeah.
So
well, and the truth is, I think if we were to ask every wedding filmmaker if they have a yearly budget, the percentage of wedding filmmakers would probably be pretty low. It's kind of just like, hey, I just take it as it comes in, and I have a priority list in my head, and so get a budget, guys. It will help you make the right decisions.
You could probably operate like that pretty well for a while, but until you can't.
Yep. Totally. So, well, that's it for questions today, Jason. Anything else you'd like to add before we log out?
If anything that we said you think that needs more explanation, we do offer coaching, and it's for a low price. So head over to weddingfilm.school, and if you would like a coaching call, we can walk you through stuff. again, we don't know everything, but hopefully we're a good ear and we can hear what's going on and maybe give you a little bit of experience.
Yep. So, guys, hopefully this episode has been great. You've enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next time here on Wedding Film School. Ask Me Anything.